Hello, Brad here, and welcome to, ready? It's the Weekly Jam, and here is my co-host. Hello, Peter.
Bring back James. Bring back James.
I was going to make a some sort of overlay that says, "No, this really is Peter," but I didn't get around to it.
I
it
was
looks like-
looking through the stats, Brad, and James's stats are so much better than mine. I'm actually
Yeah.
a bit worried. So, James, anytime you want to come on the channel, you're very welcome. And maybe next time you kick Brad off.
Whoa, yeah. Well, we need to get some data, don't we? Who is it? So Dr. James Humberstone and I talked about my PhD thesis last week and almost broke the internet, GBL style, with literally tens of people tuning in, tuning in to watch. We're completely overwhelmed by the response. So that's where we're at. So we're quite excited about today, as we always are, and we've got lots of content to get through. And so the first thing I want to talk, this is the Weekly Jam. Forgot to mention that the Weekly Jam is an initiative of Gig-Based Learning, which Pete and I co-founded. It's about 10 years old now, but really it's about a billion years old, because musicians have been doing gigs forever, and that's the thing. So gig-based learning, and then just recently we've developed a thing called the Gig-Based Learning Community of Practice, as you can see on our lower third there. And the Weekly Jam is a gathering, and we'll see how we go. Like at the moment, it's a lot of us talking at you, but as we go along and gather more what we're calling GBL COPs, the idea is that the Weekly Jam will be an exchange of ideas, should we have any. So hence the lower third for GBL, Gig-Based Learning COPs, which is the GBL Community of Practice. So there you go. Is that okay, Pete?
Yeah, we should also just say we've simplified our URL straight down here. Where is it? This way. School.com/GBL COP. If you want to get in the community, there it is. We could only change our URL once in our whole lifetime, so we did it. We might come to regret it later, but it's there.
Yeah.
It's nice and simple.
I'm already regretting it a little bit. I'm just not sure why. It's going to come back to bite us. So we've simplified it, we've added it, and from what I can see of the YouTube preview, made it really small, thanks to the snap feature in this software we're using called Ecamm Live, which is snap to grid, and just for the life of me, it's either really, really big or really, really small. So who knows what will happen next week? But so far, we've had stingers, we've had things happen automatically, and I learnt from last week to keep an eye on my sound levels. So
Nice.
seems to be working. All right, so let's get into some. Little bit of bradagogy. And so the idea of bradagogy is, well, it's the intersection of me, Brad, hello, and the craft, which combines the art of teaching and learning. So I want to talk to you about a few things, but let's bring Pete in, because that's the whole point. Why would I do this without you? So I've got a lower third. This is bradagogy behind the scenes. And bradagogy is my own personal pedagogy, and I write about it on the Gig-Based Learning blog. And so on the 4th of September, this is Substack on our screen. On the 4th of September, I dropped a newsletter / podcast / blog saying introducing bradagogy, and that strapline there, crafting a personal pedagogy by combining the art and science of teaching. And so in this post, which you can watch, you can read at substack.com, and it's got this incredible thing called the voiceover, or you can listen to it wherever you listen to podcasts. I talk about how use of the word pedagogy took off, and there's lots of different ways to say it, which is why I invented this thing called Say This Word Second. And I have this long list of words. You know those ones where you go, how do you say that word? I always wait until the other person says it. And pedagogy is one of those. And I say here that Americans like to call it pedagogy and sometimes pedagogy. And there's, like you can see, there's lots of other things taking off there. This is interesting too. This I don't think I talked about it, but this is where John Dewey starts to come into the picture. And in America, they start to have what are called the normal schools, and compulsory education starts happening around Boston. And just as everybody says, hey, we better send everybody to school, people start saying, well, we better work out how to teach. And teaching starts to become a profession. And so you can see when a profession takes off, then there's language required to talk about it. And then around here, well, the world goes to war, right? World War II happens. When people come back from the war, not that interested in this thing again. This had been a period of time known as the Progressive Education Movement. Kind of happened around here. John Dewey starts writing papers in about 1896, I think. And then John Dewey dies in, look at that, 1952. John Dewey dies. And something really interesting happens in this point, and the Americans and people in the English-speaking world say, I think it might be time to just get back to basics. So talking about pedagogy just drops off for a while.
Thank the Lord. Jeez.
Back to basics. And then neoliberalism happens in 1980, and kabow, it takes off again. And around that time, people start to... well, there was another thing too that happens. This is all in my PhD thesis, by the way. The pendulum swings of education. In the 1960s, hippies are invented. And so hippies start to do stuff. And then this pedagogic rise could be seen as a reaction against this little pedagogical moment where progressive education makes a return in the 1960s. See, as it comes, it just kind of, there's just a little bump there as people start to talk about sticking it to the man through this section. So there you go.
If you squint really hard, it's actually, you've actually got it all wrong, Brad. That's actually a direct correlation to the amount of times GBL, gig-based learning, has been mentioned in literature. So as John Dewey, who's the OG, right? He's a GBLer. I think you've got a couple of quotes to share with the community at some point.
Yeah.
And then recently, GBL, the Rise guys, music teacher reacts, HSC music videos, you know, bam, correlation between pedagogy and GBL.
Whoa. Well, that's really interesting too. And I must say that 1980, or look, maybe if we said 1985, Brad takes up the bass guitar.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
See?
It's all in here. All right.
It's
good
all
point.
in there. I squinted really hard for that one.
Yes. And if we look there, Brad plays New Year's Eve at Port Macquarie RSL.
Okay, we need an updated chart next week.
I'm going to put okay, so we need a line there for my gigs and how that relates to pedagogy. Okay, so then this is something I think, and talked in recent blog posts about this idea of everyone's a pedagogue. So everyone's walking around talking about pedagogy. And so I made this revelation, or I put my hand up and said, for a long time, I didn't really know what pedagogy was. And like I think most people, my gut feeling is there's just a lot of people walking around the community saying pedagogy, but not really knowing what they're talking about. And that would be fair and reasonable because it's an essentially contested concept anyway. So I wanted to slide into philosophy a little bit in this post and do some disambiguation to try, and that's what philosophers do. When there's a word, we always say, yeah, right, what does pedagogy mean? And one of the things that we get into a great deal of trouble when we make assumptions about what a word means. So the last thing we should be doing as we walk around the world, and particularly the world of education, is saying, when I say the word pedagogy, Pete knows what I mean, and we have a shared understanding. It doesn't work that way. So we have to disambiguate these words. Very important. So Watkins and Mortimer had a crack, and this one sticks around in our teaching. This idea from the French, and I wish I had planned to learn how to say these, but I can't yet. Pedagogy is a boy leader. A pedagogue is a person who leads a boy. And Watkins and Mortimer said, well, this is obsolete now. Clearly, we've moved on from that. But this notion, and we'll get into it in, I've got some blogs coming up. We'll get into this idea soon. But once something has happened in education and there's a metaphor or there's a way of thinking about pedagogy, for example, is leading the child. That becomes really sticky and it's really hard to shake off. So for many of us, teaching becomes the process of leading the child and down a path, right? A path of education through lesson plans and fixed curriculum and such. Then look at this, but then what is teaching? And then wait a second, there's conceptions of teaching. And so so classic Deweyan either or. So for thousands of years, we've had teaching is an art. It's something that you're born, you're a born teacher. And then when this stuff took off up here, then teaching becomes a science, right? And in the media at the moment, we hear lots about teachers need to know the science of how children learn.
Not just teachers, Brad. I think we should call out music teachers specifically.
Nice.
Because a lot of us advocate for music, like what's the science behind why it's good for children? Like it's good for the brain development, all those sorts of stuff, you know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the science. And so we get this classic Deweyan either or, episode 1, where we're talking about the people who think teaching is a science or pedagogy is a science, and the people who think pedagogy is an art have this classic either or standoff, right? A Mexican standoff. And so I wanted to offer this up. So look at this. This is beautiful. So the OECD has been busy trying to get to the bottom of things, and they say pedagogy is thus both knowledge, ways of looking at, and action. So knowledge and action. And then decisions about instruction are informed by knowledge about the relations of teaching and learning, and these repertoires, wow, that's cool, repertoires for designing learning environments, and practice build on previous instruction, get ready for this, in a dynamic model. Dynamic model, it means it's evolving, it's interactive, connecting knowledge and action. So there's knowledge and there's action, and they're dynamically connected. That's pretty cool. And so putting all this together, we come up with this idea of we don't have to be, and this is really cool, right? Because we're trying to uncover either ors in music education and what we're going to do about them so that we don't keep doing this, right? Rabbit season, duck season. So the OECD, and I've adapted, was adapted by Paniagua, who wrote this 2018, so it's pretty fresh. Pedagogy as the craft of teaching, mastery of a full repertoire of skills. That's pretty cool, hey? So the pedagogue, us, has a mastery of a full repertoire of skills, practices, and ways of describing the relationship of teaching and learning. And so it's a science informed by research, right? Made explicit, cumulative, and general. So cumulative means we accumulate, and generalizable by a community of practice. Hello, otherwise known as COP. And then over here, pedagogy is the art of teaching, responsive, creative, responsive. Isn't that awesome, Pete?
Yeah.
Who do we respond to? The young people, the world. It's creative. Yes. It's intuitive. Whoa, your gut comes into it, your heart comes into it. And get this one, personal capacities, including the individual relationship of teachers with, stop the clock, their pupils. So, that was pretty cool. So craft then lies in the dynamic intersection of science and art. And that is something to get bloomin' excited about. So when the bosses come to you and say, do it like this is what works best. Well, we can say, wait a second. I don't know if that's at the dynamic intersection.
It hits so many emotional strings for me because I've been in staff meetings on the first day of term with both of those type of arguments. Science is teaching is a science, and then another person saying teaching is an art. There's an art to teaching, and then to see this and just see no, it's both. It's a craft. It's very, very, very cool.
Isn't that beautiful? But it's incumbent upon us then. So if we go back up here, look at this. It's informed by research, but not if we're not aware of the research, right? So this is a call to action. We need to engage with the research. Otherwise, we're not being informed by research. We're being informed by nothing. It's cumulative. So we keep coming back and getting more. And where do we do it? In a community of practice. But who cares about all of that if you're just a robot? Over here, you have to respond. So you can have all of this. You can have all of this informed by research, but it's got to respond to whom? The teachers with their pupils. And how do you respond? You respond creatively and intuitively. And that's why pedagogy is a craft. And but that's the cool thing, right? It's a dynamic intersection. So I'm going to spend the rest of my life coming back to this very idea. And so because of that, I believe that a neologism is important because that's what philosophers do. When we find a word like pedagogy, which has gone bonkos, if we go back up here, it's gone bonk. Everyone's saying it, and it doesn't mean anything anymore. So for me, I just went, well, I'm going to invent a new one. That's what philosophers do. So I talk about how when you need to, as a philosopher, you just invent a new word. So, hence, bradagogy, the dynamic intersection of Brad, musician, teacher, learner, and pedagogy, the craft of teaching and learning. So right in the middle of who I am and what I do is the way I do it.
Yeah, we've been workshopping different names depending on one of my favorites was Gregagogy. But pedagogy is pretty close to pedagogy, so it kind of works quite well.
So you have so there you go, Pete. You have your own pedagogy. And like I think from previous posts, like Rogelski says, whether we like it or not, we have our own agogy. And the extent to which we've interrogated it and thought carefully about it determines our actions, because I think, I'm not sure which post it's in, but Paulo Freire says that theory illuminates action. And so whether we like it or, and he says, again, whether we like it or not, we're acting out of our belief systems. Yeah. And so I think this is really cool, right? Because in the middle, there's us making a craft out of the science and the art of teaching and learning. So, and that's what I do then. I'm a bradagog, and I have bradagogy. And it's personal, it's unique, and it's dynamically responsive based on my personal capacities and in response to the people I'm doing music education with and for. So there you go. And down the bottom, I just said, I hope this will inspire you to reflect on your practice, which I believe is the most important thing of all. And we'll talk about reflective practice as well, because just sitting around going, well, that didn't go very well, probably won't be that useful. But perhaps you could describe and develop your own agogy. So that was the idea of that post. And I think that's mostly what I said last week with the sound off. Peter.
Thanks for catching us back up. I think it's
Yeah.
important to go back to it just because, one, it's empowering to people. I feel like when I read something like that, it's it doesn't diminish who I am as a person, my experiences, my individual quirks and characteristics. I can bring that into the classroom, mixed in with all the stuff I've read at uni, or if I'm doing a postgrad, or just observing in the classroom. I can bring marry those two. I think it's really empowering to everyone. It's not saying there's one way. It's just saying actually there's lots of different ways, and it's unique because we have unique inputs into the space all the time. Me, the students, physical, virtual, technological. There's so many things going on.
Yep. It's pretty blooming exciting, hey?
Yeah.
So there you go. But wait, we're just getting warmed up. So we've got a backlog of pedagogy, and I hope to catch us up. And you might be wondering what the heck with all of this. I've been in lots of communities of practice that can't talk to each other because we haven't disambiguated, we don't have our neologisms, we don't know how to slide into philosophy. And so before we start talking about, Brad, can you help me? Then I need you to be able to help yourself because I'm trying to help myself too. And turns out the best way we can do that is together. But if we don't understand what the heck we're trying to get better at, we're just going to be walking around in circles. So there you go. I hope that's okay because, ready? Check this out. I've been out and about, Pete.
Yes.
Been out and about,
so
and
good.
so I've got some news for you. And been out and about in the community, and last Saturday, in fact, last weekend was a big weekend for me. And
Massive weekend.
my daughter Abby and I went to the city, and I wanted to tell you about our excursion to the Japanese bookstore opposite the QVB in Sydney CBD. And we're walking around, and I thought, I got to snap these book covers for the GBL cops. So
Thank you.
First book I wanted to tell you about. Oh, and if you'd like, I think it'd be really cool. I bought 2 books. Which ones did I buy? Answer at the end. All right, so the first book, I'm going through a feminist period. I'm really interested in feminism and all that entails. And so anytime I see how 4 women, and particularly in music and music education, quartet, how 4 women changed the musical world. Pretty cool. And they've got an interesting, what appears to me to be a bass guitar there, Peter, in the upright position.
No way. Thanks. Thanks,
a very
Jack Black. I appreciate it.
Yeah, very classically inspired double bass. There you go. Thank you, Leah Broad. And then this one looks pretty cool. And usually I tell you about books after I've read them, but I thought this time I'd tell you about them before I've read them. The story of Abbey Road and the end of the Beatles. Well, which will be news to some people. Yes, the Beatles have split up. And how about this one? The musical Human, a history of life on Earth. Yes. It's bold, as opposed to bald, compelling and ear-opening. And who wouldn't want that? The musical Human, a history of life on Earth. This is cool. Next, just when you thought it couldn't get cooler, The Sound of Being Human. There's another one by Jude. Hey, Jude. Whoa. Hey, Jude. A personal
Nice.
journey which becomes universal. Fascinating. Ian Rankin. So Ian's ranking it, and so Ian ranks it, and I think that sounds pretty cool. It's gorgeous, relatable, moving. And down the bottom, how music shapes our lives.
Public apology for Dad's. For everyone who's not a dad, for our dad jokes.
You didn't rank my ranking.
Yeah.
What a great name for a critic.
Oh, dear.
Okay, so that was that one. All right. And then, whoa, I almost fell over when I saw this one. I'm a massive Questlove fan as an intellectual and as a musician. Love Questy. Questlove has a podcast, Do Yourself a Favour. And this one, Music is History. Duh. But isn't it cool that Questlove's written it down? And I'm sure that will be absolutely amazing. Beautiful cover. Good job, Questy. And this one, Revenge of the She-Punks, a feminist music history from polystyrene to Pussy Riot. Hooray. That's by Vivian, which is a great name for somebody writing about punk. And I didn't know about this. Boy, did I have a Golden Book collection as a boy. But Taylor's got her own one. And hooray, it's amazing.
Yep. I personally
then-
have that for my 4-year-old daughter, who's a big fan.
Yeah, unfortunately, Taylor wasn't around for my daughter, but I'm glad that she's there for you, Pete. And then this one, Anna Funda. I'm sorry, Anna, if I've mispronounced. It could be Funda, right?
I reckon
Australian
Funda,
Australian
sure.
author, and she is either about to speak at Avalon or has just spoken at Avalon. So she's doing the rounds at the moment talking about this. And I got one of the books behind me is a signed copy of Neil Postman's Teaching as a Subversive Activity, which Dr. James Humberstone, FRSA, gave me. The only thing is we don't know who signed it. So I think this one's better. It says signed by the author. James bought my copy on eBay. We don't know. We can't read the signature, so we weren't sure who it is. So I've read this one, and it actually is signed by the author. Now this is fascinating. This builds on my interest in feminism, and George Orwell's wife was amazing and was really important in his life and career. And the story goes that she's been written out of history, and Anna Funda is writing her back in. So I can't wait. I read about it in a newspaper, and I thought, yes, that sounds fascinating. Love George. Can't wait to hear what went on with Mrs. Orwell. So that was that.
Question: Are you
Yes.
popping? So you're popping into the city and hiring these, or you just checking them out? What's the go here?
Yeah, this was just a Japanese bookshop, and Abby, my daughter Abby, and I have a long history. So it was a daddy-daughter day, and when we get time to ourselves, we
Can you
love
purchase
to.
these?
Well, okay. So the question was which two? Well, before
Yes.
that, so
Okay.
just to finish off the weekend, Pete.
Yeah.
That's Dr. James Humberstone, FRSA, and Dr. Alison Fuller on my left at the Yes Walk from Redfern Park last Sunday. One of the greatest things I've ever done in my whole life. I've never seen, have a think about it, when would there ever be a greater gathering? There's 50,000 people. I've never seen that many nice people together in one place. Because, concerts, sometimes bad people go to concerts, sporting fixtures, it's a bit of argy-bargy about my team's better than your team. But everyone was yes. It just felt so positive and so many nice people going around. Downside, hot as heck.
Yeah.
And that was a bit of a shame.
Straight after the Sydney Marathon.
Yeah. And so that was my first, I don't think I've ever walked for a cause before. So not in protest, so I still haven't done a protest march. So that was fun. All right. You ready for the two books?
Yeah, hit me.
Well, I probably gave it away because I got this one.
Nice.
Just checking. I forgot to check.
Signed?
Squiggled on
Good.
by author.
Thank you. She would have taken
Yep.
great care.
That's straight out of my we must talk one day about my autograph period.
Yeah.
I used to sign autographs, Peter. And then, ready? Second one?
Yes.
Yeah, as if I kind of gave that away as well.
Nice.
So there you go. I don't think we'll put links in the GBL community. I don't think we'll put them on the bookshelf until I've read them, or one of us has read them, or both. So that was that.
Nice.
Is that okay, Pete?
Great.
And that was GBL News, just FYI.
Nice. Yeah. I didn't do
so-
anything.
No, you did. Yes, and Pete would have been there, by the way, just to shout out to Pete, who would have been there, except you were incapacitated.
Yep.
So fair enough.
I got COVID, so I'd say I laid down low and didn't see anyone, but it's problematic because I actually had to go on tour. So the show must go on is problematic when you have COVID, and so I actually played from the green room, which is pretty interesting. So we just wireless mic, in-ear monitors, and no one wanted me on stage because their pores were going to be open. And so I just played from the green room, and so I just stared into a doorway that said "Mind your head," which I thought was appropriate. And I tried to play the baritone saxophone, and it was very, very difficult. I think there's a picture. I think I've shared it with you, Brad, but we'll see.
Okay. Well, you're up, though, because, check it out.
Robot Roundup. AI news for music education.
It's all about
Thanks,
you.
Brad. Appreciate it. So this week, I wanted to tackle 3 things. The 3 things that I really care about right now is, can I practice more efficiently with AI? Can I create music more efficiently with AI? And maybe not efficiently, but maybe some new ways of creating it. And is there one app that can rule it all? And so that's the way I'm kind of thinking about it right now. And so I've been checking out what's out there, and there's obviously developments each day. And there's some tools that I wanted to show you. Before we get into that, though, I just wanted to highlight, this is my view from backstage, Brad. And it was very, very lonely. But it meant I could cough. I could just mute my microphone and cough and have some water and stuff. So it worked out okay. So that's the mind your head thing. Very funny. So that's that. And then I also just wanted to highlight the latest blog post. And this is really cool, this model, Brad. And I just want to just shout out, not too much about it, just how amazing this little diagram that you made is of the recursive model of the Septon Circumstantii of classroom music education. And I believe you created that, didn't you?
I made it. It took me a
Yes.
day.
Amazing.
Yep.
So everyone can read about that in the latest blog post. But let's get into the robot roundup. So the first thing that I wanted to show is a program called Moises. And this is something I prepared earlier. I uploaded a track of mine and just dropped it in, and it split it into individual stems. I'm on the free version here, but with the paid version, you can have more options. But for us, we can have vocals, drums, bass, other, and a smart metronome all for free. Smart metronome is kind of cool, detects the tempo automatically and just gives you a click track. So if you wanted to solo an instrument with a click track and play along with it, you can do that. But it does a pretty good job. If I just start with the drums, and hopefully you can still hear them. So that's all together. Okay, and this is the same thing but with drums. Yeah, so it's interesting, like it's got some artifacts. If we go to a little bit of groove. This is a sousaphone acting as the bass instrument, so it's doing a pretty good job, I think. And then some horns. So some other things sort of sneak into it. We've been using a program called AnyTune, and before that, Brad, you're using Transcribe, which does a similar thing where you can sort of like cut out frequencies. So this is just like an automated way of doing that same thing. But what a great practice tool. It even like you can change tempo, change key. So if I just cut to like maybe here. So you can just imagine what a great practice tool this could be. But something I'm really interested in is text to audio. So we've got text, large language models that do text to text, and there's some text to image approaches from many different apps. Text to audio, a whole nother beast, I think. And so some people are trying Stable Diffusion. I've tried to do it with Stable Audio. And so I tried a few out. You can, I was thinking through the year 12 application of, hey, here's an audio excerpt that I really want you to understand or to listen to, and maybe you could generate some examples really quickly. So I thought, okay, let's generate a hemiola with one instrument on snare drum and one instrument playing the other rhythm. Epic fail. So, okay, let's do something a bit simpler. Can you give me a baritone sax in a funk style? Epic fail. So I was like, okay, what's the go? Apparently, it just does sort of like whole tracks. Okay, so this is where text to audio is currently, where you can dictate the style. And so, for example, drum and bass, high energy, and you can even specify the BPM. Okay, bit repetitive as well, but that could be interesting. Could be. It's not there for me right now. So I thought about what's something that could do both. So cut a track into stems and then act as sort of like a DAW, which you could record into or drop some tracks into, and even do some text to audio as well. And so this came across my radar this week as I was thinking through this problem of AI audio and sounds.studio. So you can check it out for yourself. And so you got a few things. You can split stems, which I've already done with this same track. Hopefully I can hear it. I don't have anything currently. That's okay. And you can key and beat match. You can do some text to audio. So here we've got a little stem there, which is I think it suggested I type in ambient choir, and it gave me a nice ambient choir stem. And you can even swap voices, so you can change voices from alto to tenor to whatever. And it does pretty much the same as Moises, which is split the track into stems. And you can also change the key and the tempo inside this as well, although it's not as slick as Moises. So it's getting there. I feel like someone's going to crack it any day where we have a DAW with AI. And for me, it's probably going to come from the big dogs who have lots of funding for this. But for now, we just got a lot of little guys who are just popping up on websites for us to check out. And I think that's really, really exciting, Brad.
And I think probably the big guys will buy somebody, right?
That's usually how it works.
There's a genius in the garage who's just about nailed it. And I just need to get bought out. I wonder if it should be called Moises. Just to make it a bit more legit. Okay, so don't worry. We've got you. We're going to keep our eye. Pete is obsessed with the affordances of AI for music education. And so we're on it. So thanks, Pete. That was really cool. And I think we should have a look at, we were talking earlier today about BandLab, and I think we should have a look at some AI that's going on with BandLab as well. So, by the way, we're not here for 2 weeks. We're going on the New South Wales school holidays. So when we come back, let's have a look at BandLab and AI. And I'm really impressed with it. I think it's pretty dope. Cool. And speaking of things that I'm really impressed with, a new segment.
Whoa!
Hot links from
Tell us about it.
around. Well, this is a catch-all for when we find stuff that has a hyperlink and we think you should know about it. And speaking of, holy moly, at the end of every blog post, doesn't work so well as a podcast, but at the end of all of these newsletters that we send out, if you scroll down to the bottom, Brad's bookmarks. And so sometimes if we don't get to them, in the community, we'll pop them here in the hot links segment. And don't forget, I drop a bomb each week, something that's blown my mind from the literature. Yes, ideas never stand alone. So this is hot links, and I've got some for you, Pete. There's Dr. James Humberstone and my wife again. It's not rabbit season, it's not duck season, it's HSC oral season, and it's that one time of the year when young people take an interest in the oral component of stage 6. And so a little while ago, Pete and I thought it'd be really good, similar to pedagogy. Everybody talks about oral, but we weren't sure. Well, we didn't know what it was, and we weren't sure that anybody else did either. Because it's a synthetic thing that musicians in the community don't really think about music, like the Music 1 oral exam. So we went to the literature and we made this video, HSC band, and this was during our clickbait period, and we thought, could we come up with a clickbaity title? And turns out we could. This is GBL Break the Internet. Look at that, 6.4 thousand views. And this is the sort of response that it's had. This is so fascinating. Even if you don't watch the film, do yourself a favor, have a look. Thank you so much. This is going to save me for my exam next week. Day before my exam, 2 hours before my exam, LAMO. LMAO. And then, this is pretty cool. Only subject I feel passionate about. Haha. I don't know what the haha at the end. Great video. This is gold.
Yeah.
Who else is here because their finals are up in a few days? And Poppy just saying, don't worry too much. Just skip to 2 minutes 23.
That's where the gold is.
Yep. Don't watch all.
Yeah.
It's just Brad.
Yeah. Come for the video. Stay for the comments, guys.
Yep.
Highly packed with action.
And then something that does our head in. So 6,500 people watch that, and it's pretty good stats. And when you think about it, not that many people do music for HSC. So clearly people are watching it. But then they don't find, we think this is the gold. They tend not to find this one. Look, probably because they hated the first one. But we wish they'd come here. This is the what we call the 5IA. Because, we invent words and stuff. The 5AA, the 5-image approach. And so the literature, our dear friend Trish Weeks found that the best responses used images. And so this is Pete, and we're pretty proud of this. Look, Pete's actually drawing on an iPad in real time. So there's that one, 5-image approach. And make sure you check out, yes, we said, thank you for your videos. Oh, yes. And Dr. James Humberstone always likes to reply. He couldn't work out whether to draw a graph or a graph. That's one of my say this word second words. Always wait till the other person says it. And then we've been dining out on this. And I reached out to this person years ago, and I can't remember. I think we had a nice chat. This is every question up until about it says it here, up until 2019. And if you click these links, there's just a wealth of resources. So this is musicconcepts.com.au. And if you go to the homepage, it's got this, which is all fine, but this is the gold. These are YouTube links, but there's so much more. It takes you to the YouTube link. There is the details. You can download a scaffold, and you can view marking criteria. So shout out to this person. I've forgotten, because I'm old and it was ages ago. I've forgotten your name, but you are awesome, and thank you. That's really cool. In the GBL community of practice, we've created a database of this database. So if you're looking for a duration question, actually you can just come here and type in duration. But we just wanted you to be able to see it all laid out. So we have a humble Google spreadsheet, Pete, that lists all of these.
Yep.
So there's that. Check this one out, though. This is music analysis. So if you were to search that up, we'll put these links in for the community of practice. This is cool. Can't say that whether or not and hi, Can't say whether or not the analysis is good, but look at this 2019 music exam. And what a clever thing to have the text come up over here. And it's like one of those interactive Camian listening guides. And
Yeah,
as you go along.
Brad, you've had the idea of ages whether we should live stream us using the key successful components of a successful answer and the 5AIA in live responses to past papers. We could be doing it on an iPad and such.
Yes.
And if that's helpful to students, that'd be an interesting thing to know. So if you're watching this, let us know if that could be cool.
That would be so helpful for us to know how to be helpful on that. Yeah, for sure. And I think given that students tend to look for oral videos about 2 weeks out from their exam, we wondered if we could be there 2 weeks out from their exam in a live stream, or what resources we could have to maybe do some live responses to oral exam questions and work through it. So that was that, and I think, Pete, I might have one more. Do I have one more? No. Oh, that'll do. That was good. That was links to do with oral. I think. Let me just make sure. Yeah, that's pretty good. Hot links, and don't forget that was music analysis. Is the name of that YouTube channel. And that was Hot Links, which brings us to AQQQ. And so thanks to everybody who's been posting. I still haven't quite worked out how to read comments and be on the screen at the same time, but people have been posting comments. So
nice.
The purpose of this segment is in the community over the course of the week, we've been chatting and questions have come up. People have read the blog post and stuff, and we've just done a presentation of stuff that we're excited about. And so we just thought the last few minutes of, rather than doing questions throughout, we thought we'd have a queue of FAQs, and this is our queue. While you were talking, Pete, while you were talking, Jacob said that he loves moises.
Thanks, Jacob.
Yeah,
good on you for getting on top of it. I know it's sort of got viral over the music education community over the last year. People have been talking about it, looking for something like this, and it's good to see it put into practice. Good job.
It's amazing. This was really cool to hear that we could be heard this week. That's good to know. And I did mention before that the FAQQ was coming up, so that's good.
Yes, nice.
And thanks for this. This is really cool. The best pedagogy explanation. Yeah, I wish somebody would have told me about it. But it's only 2018 that article came out, so it's pretty fresh. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, I remember 2009 I started my undergrad and I came across pedagogy. I was like, what? I'd probably spent the next 3 years going, what?
Yeah.
I think I'm using it correctly, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah. And I think we're going to do some work on this as we go along. But like I talked about, this idea of pedagogy being the teacher leads the child. There's some other ways of thinking about about teaching, and there's not a lot in pedagogy about the learning historically. And so in recent times, it's been people have been going, okay, so let's talk about teaching and learning, because just because you're teaching doesn't mean anybody's learning. And what do you mean by teaching, or what do you mean by learning? So I think one of the big problems with pedagogy is that there's a focus on the teacher, and what even percentage of the situation is the teacher anyway. So, but I'll break that down as we go along. Thanks, Jacob, for noticing the transitions, which have only taken the last month of my life.
I think it was in relation to the GBL news one in particular.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, what would be the best pronunciation of Jacobagy? Jacobagy. Yeah. Okay.
Jacob
Oh,
Bodgy.
Jacobagy.
It's hard. We'll have to
Jacobagy.
go into the community
Yep.
practice and work that one out.
I'm just seeing that graph on Google of Jacobagy, and all of a sudden there's 20 different pronunciations, and people are going, "How do you say it?" And then,
Nice.
hi Abby.
Hoover. Nice.
We haven't met, but thanks for
No.
commenting.
That could be our first troll. We
Yeah.
welcome all trolls. It's a safe space for trolls.
Yeah, well, we'll put it up too and have a look at it because, it's cool. We get to do that.
Yeah.
So if you are a real person and a teacher, we'd love to get to know you, and love you to join the community of practice. I've had some really nice conversations with bots and and trolls and such in the YouTube comments. Bring it on.
I did notice that you were chatting to them. I was like, that's pretty sure that's a bot, Brad.
Yep, I'll have a go. Yeah. It's good practice.
Yeah.
So that was that, and I didn't mean to pull that back up, Abby, but you're getting a fair run today.
Yeah.
And that was the FAQ QQ for today.
Amazing.
And I've run out. That's
Yeah.
the show. That's all
Cool.
of the segments we have.
Great. Well, thanks for being here, everybody. If you want to engage with us on a personal level, just go down to the link below to our community of practice. We host it on School because it fosters nice collaboration between us and the community. And we hope to see you there.
Yeah, but not for 2 weeks. We'll set the schedule, and there'll be something in YouTube, and you can see when we'll be back. But same bat time, same bat channel, as they used to say back in the day. Wow, that was the Batman sign off.
Wow.
Okay, Brad and Pete signing off for. We don't know what episode this is, do we? We should. Be nice to know. But we know that it's the 21st of September, 2023. This has been, well, we should bring that up again. This has been the weekly jam for the GBL community of practice. Thanks for, if you've made it to the end, holy smokes, you are amazing. And we'll see you, well, you'd be even more amazing if you come back next time. We'll see you then.
Yeah.
Bye for now.